Today's guest is Tony Caudill, a talented actor, director, and producer who made the bold move from secular entertainment to faith-based storytelling. As the founder of Tug Tug Media, Tony is passionate about creating meaningful content that uplifts, inspires, and reflects the power of purpose-driven creativity. Tony, thank you so much for being a guest today. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on your show.
Yeah.
I love the studio.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I know it's beautiful. Adam has done a fantastic job. You know, it's just everybody loves it when they come in here, and so I'm really happy.
Yeah, no, it's really cool.
Yeah. So, in doing my research all about you, I have found out that you have a humongous, diverse career: actor, producer, director, videographer. You're an overall filmmaker. So tell the audience a little bit about some of the roles that you've had, some of the acting roles that you've had.
Well, as far as acting, that's really what I started doing when I began in October of 2011. It wasn't something I'd ever done before or planned on doing, actually. I saw an ad out of all places on Craigslist, which this is not telling anybody suggesting to go to Craigslist nowadays, but in 2011 it was a little different. So I ended up submitting because it said, that a company was looking for actors for a crime reenactment show to send your picture. It didn't say I had to have experience, so that's exactly what I did. I sent my picture, and so I ended up getting cast on a show for ID Channel and did several of those with that company. Shows like Snapped and Fatal Attractions, a lot of them things are filmed in Knoxville. And then just kind of went from there. Got signed after my first show. And then I did that for a while, and then it just kind of transitioned more into the crew.
Yeah, I love that. Listen, first of all, what woman is not a true crime junkie? I know I am. I love that the Snapped and all that stuff. I love it. So for me, that would be a dream to get to be on one of the, just like even be silent, just to be in the background or something. So that's really cool that you did that. Yeah. But now you make, so you've transitioned from the secular acting entertainment industry into the more Christian stuff. So what caused you to want to leave, Hollywood? I talked last week to Rob Eckno, and we talked about how he left Hollywood after 31 years. What caused you to want to leave that side of it and move over to the Christian side?
Well, obviously my personal beliefs, direct a lot of the things I do in personal life. But it's also, besides making a film, just to reach audiences, but to reach audiences for the kingdom. That's more rewarding than even trying to see how many people you can hit. And also I think that the faith-based films have throughout the years have gotten to be known as, for lack of a better term, cheesy or anything like that. They're not, because of the budgets that they've had to deal with. They've not had the ability to put out projects that even look comparable to anything else. And so, just on that side and in general, to see just kind of what God's doing in the earth and to kind of see that there's a new direction. It seems like if you take a regular story that someone's lived, and then you try to tell that story by inserting a character of faith, versus making the whole movie about that one particular subject and then beating it over everyone's head all the way through the movie. Instead just let them relate to it and let God do his work.
Yeah. Wow, I love that. Tony, it's that way too when we witness to people as Christians. We cannot go out with a Bible and just beat somebody with the word of God and tell them, you better do this and you got to live this way and you got to do that. We have to live our lives for Christ in front of them, and that will, because I think it's somewhere in the Bible, like, if I'm lifted up, I'll draw all men to me. Mm-hmm. So if we lift him up with our lives, we'll get more people to the kingdom than if we try to convince them. We can never shove it down people's throats. So I love that you said that, just showing the person in the movie living the life of faith.
Well, and it's a character that kind of can drop messages and just kind of be relatable
Yeah.
to people along the way. I think you just get more that way. It's like if you see the preachers on the streets with signs, turn or burn, so something like that. Notice that people will lash out at them, and it's always because they're guilty. And they feel like it's being directed at them like we do, and going in hearing a sermon, and we're like, man, the preacher's called my number today. You know what I mean? And so it's just that when people are reminded that they're not what they need to be doing, the last thing they want to do is hear about it.
Yeah, exactly.
So by living an example, it gives us that chance to let God be God and let us be us. You know.
Yeah, man, that's powerful.
Thank
That
you.
is powerful, Tony. It causes me to think twice about a lot of stuff. I used to post a lot of stuff, which, I mean, it's okay to post on Facebook about God, but sometimes I would post like, I know a few years ago I would post like, you shouldn't be doing this, you shouldn't be doing that, and then I was like, well, I can't really tell people what to do and what not to do. I have to just let that be God, even though what I think is like, well, you can't be out with somebody else's wife, but who am I to tell somebody that, so
And they
yeah.
just don't want to hear it,
Yeah.
because again, if you're guilty, the last thing you want to do is be reminded about it.
Yeah, I know when I was in my rebellion, honey, listen, when I was young, my mom said, you can't go out with, well, he later became my husband, my son's dad. You can't go out with him. And I was like, watch me. So,
You want to do it even
yeah,
more.
you do, because it's just something about that forbidden. So was there one movie or a project that you saw that caused you to say, this is where I need to be? Not only like you felt that calling, but is there one movie that you can look back and go, this was my turning point. This is what really changed me?
I've been asked that in the past, and to me, it was just the experience. Honestly, the first time of being on set, that was a turning point for me. I mean, here I am, someone had never done theater, never auditioned, never done anything. Now all of a sudden, I'm doing something that is going to be seen nationally and internationally, and it was more of the idea that I was on set doing something that most people never would get an opportunity to even see happen. I just got to do. And so having that feeling of being surrounded by like-minded people, doing what you all loved, it affected me from that day on. There's not one specific moment that I can remember back and be like, all right, this is what I'm going to do from here on out. It's just that feeling that I had that first day. Coming offset, I realized how much it was total opposite. It was 180 degrees different offset than it was, being on set. Everybody was there for you. Everybody's cheering each other on, and then offset, it's like everyone's stabbing each other in the back to get back on set again.
Yeah.
And I didn't understand that. I didn't understand why the polar opposite. And so, being new, loving something, wanting to talk to people about it. Who do you talk to about it? There wasn't anybody. People think you're crazy. Like, man, this ain't Hollywood. I mean, this ain't, and so just creating an atmosphere where people can go is something that stemmed from the need of me needing to find and connect with other people. But I'm sure I couldn't be alone.
Yeah, that reminds me of what I said about Rise Up. You were at Rise Up this year, right?
Yes.
Let me tell you, that was my first year being there. I'll never not go again, Lord willing, if I'm able to go, because I loved it. I loved the feeling. And like you said, everybody was like-minded. And when I left there that weekend, I had such a feeling of hope and just joyfulness, and I felt like I had been surrounded with everybody who wants the same thing, and that's to build up the kingdom of God. And that's just, there's nothing like that. And you don't find that in your secular jobs or like even in Hollywood. Like you said,
No,
people stab you in the back.
Everybody's competing. So to be with the people that all want to be there for the right intentions, the right personalities, and all that, it brings together something that only God can use us when we're all willing to be used. To do what He wants done, and it's been incredible.
Yeah. So you went from not having any acting experience, like you said, in 2011, to being on a few shows, to now you direct documentaries, you directed shorts and all that. How in the world did you switch? Because it's one thing being an actor. It's hard being behind the camera and putting it all together. So how did you move into that job?
Serving. Um, I got a quote on my profile on my bio. It says, "If you want to lead like leaders do, then learn to do what servers do, and waiters do and serve." And looking at it now, just wanting to be on set and knowing that I didn't look like some of the A-list stars that you would see. I knew that it was an opportunity to give someone a hand behind the sets. I didn't care if it was carrying equipment. I didn't care what it was doing because I was on set. And to me, a bad day on set is better than most of my good days when I'm not. So it was just the willingness to serve as a PA allowed me to do exactly that, pay attention. And I just witnessed what everybody else was doing, how they treated one another. And I thought to myself, even if I don't know what to do one day, I want to know what not to do.
Yeah.
And that's to treat the least on set like they're the least in life. Your PAs are doing your physical activity. Everybody else appears to be pushing two buttons, and the rest are titles and egos. Okay, what do we do here?
Yeah.
And that's what you witness. And so it's like, if you can just put aside our titles, put aside all that, and just be willing. That willingness to carry equipment, got me into learning a little bit more.
Yeah.
And just wanting to be on set. And I didn't have any equipment. As an actor, you are the equipment. I've often told actors, it's like, if you're a crew or you're a musician or an athlete, you can take your equipment, you can put it up on the wall, and over time, dust will get to it and it will collect. And but when you are the instrument, you need someone to blow the dust off of you. And my name's Tony Caudill. Nice to meet you. It's like, that's why I'm here, just to let you know that what you started doing, you don't have to make that choice. Do I do what I have to do? Do I do what I love to do? We just want people to see that they're more than the titles that we want to hide behind.
I totally agree with what you said about the least and all that, because every job I've ever had, I've tried to learn every area, not just what I needed to do, but I've tried to watch other people, other departments, even to like housekeeping or whatever. Like at my last job that I had, the lady would come and clean my office and stuff, and I watched what she did, so that on days that she wasn't there, I did it for her. She would come up when she would come back, and she would say, "Thank you so much for doing that." And I'm like, it's okay, because I feel like that if we learn it all, it keeps us more humble, and it comes in handy too, because there might be a day where I need that knowledge. So
and it helps to get a better understanding of everybody else's position, so we all respect one another's positions and titles. It's a win-win.
Yeah, I love that. So now you went from acting to directing, and then you started your own company, Tug Tug Media.
Yeah.
Boy, that's a huge undertaking.
Well, the thing is when trying to come up with a name, there was a couple floating around in my mind. One, I was going to use results, results, whatever the rest of that is, with a Z. And then I didn't want that to sound arrogant. Like someone's like, "So what do you produce?" Results.
I like that, though.
But at the same time, I didn't want that to come off as arrogant or anything. So Tug Tug is actually an acronym for a 6-line prayer that I saw. And it was, teach me, use me, guide me, take me wherever, God, and use me for whatever, and guide me.
Oh, wow.
So the reason I use that acronym is as a reminder that anybody that's watching this amazing journey that he has me on, you're watching somebody that he's just used as an example to show you what's possible for you, because I'm nobody special.
Yeah, I love that. I've never heard that before, but
it was the way my mind just picked up on it, just looking at it when I memorized it. I'd see Tug, Tug, Tug. And I thought, it's so unique and so out there that it might just grab somebody's attention.
Well, I was going to say it's very unique, and it helps me to remember Tony Caudill, Tug Tug Media, because it is so different. Because if you just have like Smith Media or Davis Media, it's like who? But Tug Tug Media, that's it's so.
And then when I looked up the definition of a tugboat, it was to guide and to influence
Oh,
in
wow.
one of them. And so I was like, because I hadn't been around a lot of
Yeah.
boats or by the ocean. And so just to know that a boat, I didn't know that. I thought they pulled boats. It was a tugboat. I thought they tugged them.
Yeah.
But I guess they line up beside of them and guide them where they want
Wow.
to go.
I love
And
that.
so that's one thing that I wanted to do is I wanted to give people who felt like they didn't have a voice an opportunity to tell their stories, because most of the most incredible stories in our life could be in the heads of our neighbor, and they don't know what to do with
I
it.
know.
It's like by the time they get a camera and some lights and stuff together from their friends and their friends' cousin, it's an overwhelming task.
Yeah, definitely. Listen, definitely. Even when I do the show from my house, I have that smaller background. And even when I do it from there, because I was telling Adam, I was like, can we hurry on the studio and get in there? Because I think I did the first 3 shows or something, or 4 from home. And let me tell you something. I don't know how to run a Zoom call myself. My son had to help me, but I was like, and one, I had Cherie J. Wilson on. I forgot to press record. And we were like 10 minutes into it, and I was like, I forgot to hit record. And so then at the end, we had to go back and pick up the first few questions. I was just like,
But
so,
you're doing it though. That's the cool thing.
yeah, but
You're
it's
doing
hard.
it.
It's hard. It's hard.
Well, if it was
So-
easy, everybody be doing it.
Yeah.
Though, right?
So when you work when you're getting ready to put a project together, you're the director, you're the guy behind it. You have Tug Tug Media. You're like, okay, this is what we're doing. You're having to choose a lot of creative people, actors, producer, even like the people who work behind the scenes. How do you choose? Do you choose people who are Christians, or is anybody welcome to work with you, or how do you ensure like that the faith-based project stays faith-based and doesn't take a
That's a good question. For me, doing Modern Day Messiah recently was the first big undertaking for me. But I will work with anybody. When I'm building a team, I'll build it first off of their intentions. What are you doing this for? What's your personality? Will you get along with everybody else on the team based what I know about you and then other people's personalities? And then talent is the last.
Wow.
Because you can teach people tricks and talents, but you can't teach them integrity.
Yeah. Oh wow.
And so to know why you're doing it, why your heart's here. Do you have to be a born again believer when you start? No. I just don't want anybody using God's name in vain and stuff like that, especially if we're filming in a building with churches or anything. I don't want to become one of those people that are making films to win the lost, but so heavenly minded that I can't be any earthly good and can't see somebody right around me that may need God, that we could have been the only example of Christ they could have saw in action. And I don't want that falling on me. So yeah, everyone's welcome.
Yeah,
You know
that's
what I mean?
wonderful. That is so wonderful because, I've been in churches, Tony, before in my life where, I went to one church for years, and you were expected to be living at the foot of the cross. And that's the whole point of going to church, is because we're not living at the foot of the cross. If we were, we'd already be in heaven, and I had my struggles, and I was made to feel bad about them. And so I felt like I didn't fit in. I felt inadequate. I was like, gosh, I don't fit in with these people because I can't be one of them. But you know what? They weren't who they said they were either. So I'm glad that you give people a chance, even if they're not serving God, that you're like, hey, come on, you can work with us.
I mean, to me, that's how we should all be.
Yeah.
It's like, instead of just even denominations, when it gets down to denominational things, there's churches and the towns that we live in that we don't know what they're doing behind their doors or what they're doing behind their doors. And when you really look at it, it's like denominations are nothing but tools of division. They take the body of Christ and they divide them. And I think that's what Satan has wanted to do is take and keep keep us divided from one another,
Yeah.
keep us alone, keep us with our faces in the book, so to speak. And as long as we're there, we can't be as effective.
Yeah.
So coming together like that makes a big difference too.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. So, what's been one of the most meaningful projects that you've done with Tug Tug Media?
Well, Modern Day Messiah is going to be special. It really was. We not only did we do it a different way that I'd never seen it produced before, meaning that we incorporated a lot of the audio book. That I put him in the studio first to let him record his audio, and then we used that audio in a mixture with the actors doing semi-scripted work. So, which what I'm calling is a semi-scripted audio film. Because when I really took a look at like what are people consuming, it's reels, and what do reels do that other things don't? Well, they hit you visually, audibly, and they even have words there. So, and they're getting hundreds of thousands and millions of views. So, if you can take an entire film and instead of it being a 12-day shoot and do it in a third amount of the time by doing your sound this way, uh, it was like there wasn't a blueprint that I could find that existed like that, but it made sense because if you can give the client, an audiobook in addition with giving them a film, and you could also help the actors by not having to memorize word from word, all these different things and different takes. It made sense. And I knew that those ideas were bigger than me because when something like that came to me, I was just like, wait a minute, I've never seen that done before. And I kept asking people, and they're like, never seen it, man. It's brilliant. Never seen it. And then that's when I was like, man, this might actually be a 1st. I don't know, but it's definitely everything came together. So I don't want to say effortlessly, but that's really the only way I know to describe it. That's when I knew I was walking in my purpose. Is because when you're in your call and when you're doing what you're anointed or what you're called to do, then when you try something, it's like God will make doors where there was only walls,
Yeah.
and there's no guessing.
Yeah, I love that too. I mean, when and you're happy when you're doing what you're called to do. You're happy as
100%.
long as you're doing it. You're happy, and it feels good. And I every time I do a show, no matter what the topic is, and when I leave, I feel such a rush on the way home because I feel like I'm doing what I'm called to do, and it just makes me happy. So tell us what Modern Day Messiah is about. I know I've seen that on your page. I've seen it on other people's pages. What is it about, and how can we watch it?
It'll be coming out hopefully. After the new year, we'll premiere it and things. It's just a movie about redemption, about everyday struggles that everybody goes through. But I think it's the way it's written. It's actually a chronicled novel of stories. Um, I guess I can say that. It is based on a book that was written, a well known book, and in that book got an updated version. But in order to make this project and still keep the name of the book as it was written would automatically give away what it was.
Oh, wow.
And so uh, I wanted to try to find something that didn't tell everybody basically something right on the cover that would give them any idea of what it was about, so to speak. I wanted them to know what it was about, but I didn't want them to know because of an acronym or something that they see on the thing that, wait a minute, I already know what this is going to be about. So we wanted to do something and kind of switch it up to where it kind of put into context, like how would God react in today's times? How would things like that? So we took there was different scenarios and different things. There's a base story that runs throughout, but and then as there's different examples through the story, um, it just gives everyone an example. There's different people that different characters are going to relate to. people that's going through everyday struggles and just don't know the answers. So
Yeah, that sounds great. I can't wait to watch it. Now, did you put it in the film festival, Rob's Film Festival?
no, the plan for it right now is we'll premiere it in Virginia, where we ended up making it in Wise County, Virginia. We'll play it at a church there for probably the cast and crew members and those involved. And then I like to go to independent theaters because they've been hit hard. And if you can go to an independent theater owner and you see that they charge $5 a ticket, and you ask them, what do you rent your theater for? They're going to tell you $500 a night, knowing that they didn't make $500 a week.
Yeah.
And so it made no sense to do that. So I just looked at it from a different angle. It's like, you guys charge $5. You got a beautiful theater, holds 700 people. Yeah, I'd like to play a movie here, and I want you to keep 100% of your ticket sales and 100% of your concessions. And then they're like, what's the trick? Nothing. I want your business to succeed because it's been broken since Blockbuster.
Mm-hmm.
That's the reality of it. And but how does that help you, Tony? Well, one, I don't have to rent the theater.
Mm-hmm.
And then two, I said they can keep 100% of their ticket sales. Then say we didn't charge 8 or 10.
Yeah.
And then you could take that and use that ROI to continue to make this. Mm-hmm. You know, there's a strong chance that Modern Day Messiah will become a series. Wow. And so if it does, that's what we want to do, to have that continuous funding.
I love that. So, you know, I'm going to talk about the elephant in the room. I had talked to you back in the summer and about a project that I really feel led to do, and that is to make a short film or a documentary or something, 90-minute documentary, out of my book, Cancer, God and Me, that details my journey through breast cancer. My big holdup is the money. That's the money. That's what we all talk about, you know. And I even have talked to some of the biggest actresses and actors, and even they struggle to find funding. You know, Kevin Sorbo was at Rise Up, and he was talking about finding funding, and it is so hard. But, you know, that's what we need. I really want to do that with you. I really want you to be, because when we were on the phone that day and you were telling me the vision that you had for it, I was like, wow. And I could see it in my mind. I can already see the trailer. And I'm like, Lord, I want to do this. Please open the door so we can do this. So, and that's based on my experience.
Yeah.
So when you tell a story based on somebody's life, how do you handle, because you know it's going to have that emotional and that spiritual weight, how do you go about that? What's the process for you to say, like, okay, this story means a lot and I've really got to tell this? What's your approach to that?
Honestly, staying as much out of my own way as I can. just following whatever God lays on my heart to go for, because again, if he gives you a vision, he'll give you provisions. And so it is, funding's a hard aspect of it. But as far as telling someone's story, no one can tell it exactly like the person who lived it.
Yeah.
But and listening to what they're saying, I don't know. I don't know how everybody else, you know, is wired and thinks. But for me, when I'm listening to someone, it's like it plays out on screen in front of me. Yeah. I think of different shots that I would get. I think of different angles that could really make it more cinematic. And things like that. So, you know, as far as a direct process, it's going to vary every time. But the main thing is just trying to hit and do things differently cinematically than I've seen most people do it. Whether it be doing shots where someone's in a hospital bed, for example. I had someone reach out to me recently, and I told him, I said, look, if you got a scene in a hospital bed, he says, is that relevant? And I told him, I said, it's really powerful, because if someone's in a hospital bed, and he said, well, how would you recreate that? I said, well, imagine you're in a hospital bed, and you opened your eyes, and they're blurry, and you looked around the room, and you saw a bunch of white coat people working on you. You didn't know what was going on. why can't you put the camera right up here by their eyes? And when they open them, you blur in the camera, you blur in the lenses, and you're doing it. But just because it's a point of view shot, do they have to be sitting up? No, let them lay on the ground. Well, I can fit underneath them like this and let them look up at that angle. And they really love that perspective of it. I think it's just a way of presenting the story itself.
Yeah.
You know, what's going to hit the most people.
Man, that's fascinating because we all have those gifts, and your gift and a director's gift is seeing it before it happens. Even like a writer, you know, a painter. I'm always amazed at people who paint that can take a white canvas and they can see that picture they want to put on there. That's just fascinating to me. I love that. So what's next for Tug Tug Media? What projects do you have coming? I know you have Modern Day Messiah coming out soon, but are you getting ready to start another project or?
Right now it's that take me wherever God used me for whatever. So it's like I'm here, I'm available, I'm accessible. You know, if anybody wants to reach out to us. I was talking to a potential client in Alberta, Canada, who reached out to me, and I asked him, I'm like, out of curiosity, how'd you hear? Because I just basically created the page a couple of weeks, or months prior. And he's like, I really don't know. Yeah. But he's got an amazing, amazing testimony. God healed him from MS. Wow. He out of a chair, hadn't been able to walk in 25, 30 years. He's walking. He's up moving around. God's healed him. And it's a powerful story that needs to be told. Yeah. That could be an option, but the one thing is I just try to realize that the more I try to plan anything, the more God's like, what's this? Yeah. So I just try to stay available and stay open.
Yeah. Rob said that last week. He said to just always say yes to God. Yeah, yes, Lord, I will. And God knows who will and who won't. And that's who he uses. So one last question before we go, and I ask everybody this. What would be your dream project or your dream collaboration? If God said, Tony, just tell me the one thing that you want to do, what would you choose?
Oh man. I just want to make something that's memorable. As far as collaborating with any particular people, I mean, if I named actors, as long as their intent was right, because that team building doesn't change, the way I think based on who they are. But just the main thing is just making a project that ideally that people didn't see coming, something that's already been there, and just in a way and a perspective that they didn't see it that makes them think. I just want people to see the other side of the coin that they didn't know existed, because I didn't know it existed until this year when God started opening my eyes spiritually myself. Then I started realizing like everything seems like a parallel to me. It's like I could see where the first half of the book, everywhere I've messed up, but wait a minute, here's a whole new half, and I'm excited. Oh, yeah. That's where I'm at. So it just is my dream projects is just any of them that can bring people together for the glory of God and to give people that hope to know that, hey, somebody sat around in Hollywood and said sharks and tornadoes and made a trilogy and made millions.
Crazy.
Maybe my story's not as crazy as all.
Yeah, and that snake's on the plane. Whoa, that was.
Really
kind of weird. So
every 5 years they'll come out with the same story.
Yeah.
Every different generation. It's like, so you can see that there's been a shifting. At least it looks like a lot of shifting in the heavenlies right now with what's going on in film and in media, with the fall of some. Out west, and exposures and things happening. The question is if you can see the shift coming and you can see that the people that were the so-called bench warmers are not on the bench no more, how long is it going to be before each one of us start realizing, wait a minute, it's our turn?
Yeah.
We've been last too long.
Yep.
It's our turn to be first. For God's glory. We're going to go in here and we're going to reach as many people as we can for the kingdom.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, the exposures and all that. There's been a lot of people fall, a lot of people being found out, and God is opening up that path for us to step up and go, hey, you know, and the time is right now in the world.
Perfect.
The time is right. So, listen, I want to thank you so much for being
Thank
on
you
the
so
show
much for
today.
having
Really
me on.
appreciate it.
Yeah,
This has
I
been fascinating. I
yeah,
love
thank you.
talking to you. Yeah,
Thank
it's
you.
been fascinating.
Absolutely. I
So,
enjoyed it. I
yeah.
enjoyed being here.
So maybe we'll have you back again.
All right.
So, yeah.
Anytime. I love it.
Thank you guys for watching today. I know you have loved hearing Tony talk about his Tug Tug Media and all of his adventures that he's been through. If you want to have Tony direct a film for you or a short or whatever, just go to his website. We'll put it at the bottom of the screen. And tune in again next week for another great guest. And remember that you can do all things through Christ.